Hey, everybody. This is Joshua Littrell. Thank you so much for joining us here today on the Veterans for Cannabis podcast. I'm extremely excited to have Mr. Don Pierce on today. Don is in the insurance industry, and he is somebody that we're really excited about hearing. And I know all of you have all been asking about the insurance opportunity that may be available. Don, how are you doing today?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. So, Don, if you don't mind, before we get started, give our listeners a little sense of where you're at geographically located in the country.
Yeah, so the Don Pierce Agency, we're located out in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Green Bay, Wisconsin, up there with the cheeseheads. Love it, man. Love it. So, Don, I actually come from the insurance and financial services industry myself. That's where I kind of cut my teeth after I got out of the military. So, you and I are going to be talking about something that's extremely, close to my heart. I was talking to another gentleman earlier today, and he was like, I don't believe in insurance. Well, guess what? The first time you need it, you damn sure want it, don't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No one likes to pay for it, but we're here.
Oh, my gosh, that's so true. So, Don, tell us a little bit about what it is that you bring to the table and what you've been doing over the last few years, because very few people are actually providing insurance in the cannabis industry. And when I say that, I really mean hemp that we're talking about. But the cannabis industry, nobody's really doing it. But you are, and the Don Pierce Agency is.
Yeah, so, essentially, at least in Wisconsin, at least, passed the Farm Bill in November of 2018. And, we really dove in with both feet. Worked with a large processor, and from then on kind of took off word of mouth. I started speaking at some different conventions, and like you said, not a lot of people have been doing it. A lot of people have been backing out, and as far as insurance companies not covering it, canceling farms out for having it, or even being associated with it. The banking industry doing the same thing. So I get this question a lot, why am I running towards it? And it's been very good to us. It's been interesting. It gives us a break from insuring, cows. We love cows and,
Right.
Other types of risks, but the hemp stuff has been fun to work with. What I love about it is that everyone's kind of got an individual little niche on their operation. None of these are the same. Everyone's got their little twist on their niche, and it's been fun to work with.
That is so true. And that's, people don't understand when you get in the insurance industry, you do the same thing day in, day out. So when you get something new like this that kind of falls in your lap, if you will, and then you take it by the reins and you run with that, that's exciting,
Absolutely.
man. That's a really exciting time.
Yeah, I said, it gets the heart going, and and also too, just the word of mouth thing has been really fun too. So, you live in a certain culture, like you're in Green Bay, where I get adjusted to the culture, adjusted to the people, and with the whole word of mouth type thing. We got calls this last week from California, Odessa, Texas. Someone interviewed me out from New York. We got a call from Maine. So I'm hearing a lot of different twists on cultures, and again, any given operation can be different, and that's been exciting too.
That's so true. So do you guys only insure in Wisconsin, or do you insure outside the state?
So I insure basically nationwide, given a few separate states that we don't, like New Jersey and I think New Hampshire, we can't touch. But other than that, I opened up the market. As soon as I found out that other people are having a hard time insuring these things, I've been picking up state by state on a given basis.
Well, hopefully we'll be bringing some business your way with our listeners who are going to tune in, and then they're going to call you up and say, hey, cover us up. So one of the things that you have to think about when you're looking at insuring a farm, are you looking for farmers that have been in the industry for years? And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean that. I mean being a farmer for years, or can you insure a new farm?
Absolutely. So, with insurance-based, is a lot of times they're looking for experience. Because obviously, if you got more experience, or you got a little bit of a better grasp as far as the risks associated with that. But I think our companies that we work with, they understand that this is a new avenue, and they've been okay with it, I guess, to put it simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
that's a huge opportunity, I think, for the insurance industry itself. And being something new, I know there are a lot of people that are excited about it and want to get into it, but nobody's taken the bull by the horns, and that's what you're doing, Don. And we really appreciate you doing that as well.
Right, and even just from an educational standpoint as well, we're always, we get calls a lot of times where I can't even help them out on the insurance end, but I can point them in the right direction to maybe help them out in other ways too, seeds, seedlings, educational, anything. So
it's about networking,
be a big resource for the hemp community. Networking,
that's right.
There you go.
And that's what we've got to do. We have to be good stewards of each other to become good stewards of the land, right? The real key is making sure that we keep the good players in and push the nefarious actors out. And that's something that I know that you will do, because you want to make sure that your business is there to stay and it stays on the books. And you only do that with good actors.
Absolutely. And then even to circle back to on the claim side of things, again, I've done enough of these to where I know, what gets you the best rate per thousand, and what doesn't. So, obviously if you've got a large family background and farm ranch and, have a good understanding of things, we can always tie that into the narrative and try to get you, the client the best rate per thousand, discount those things off.
Well, and that's the key is for our listeners, when underwriters look at a policy, essentially, they're underwriting paper people all day long. So we have to, as agents, provide them a good picture of that paper person, right? So what you're talking about, that narrative and developing that's right, man. You sell it, and that's what it takes to do this. So that's extremely exciting. I know you're really excited about this industry. So when a farm comes to you or a farmer and they say, "Hey, Don, I want you to insure us," what are some of the typical questions they should anticipate? Some of the things they should have ready before they come to you?
So again, I'm always just trying to do kind of a preliminary discussion with my folks, figure out what they're all about, what their given niches, kind of, doctor diagnose these folks and try to help, get them in the right seat. So those types of things. Talk about rates. All those types of things so that I can kind of paint the picture to the underwriter, make sure that I've got not only you're a good fit for me, but I'm a good fit for you.
Right.
And, kind of go through a little diagnosis of things to make sure that we fit together and that I'm going to be able to help you out. I don't want to waste their time. They don't want to waste mine. If it's not in their right wheelhouse, even financially, to where they can, afford the insurance. I've done this enough to where I can essentially almost quote people right off the top of the dome here. Which people like, right? They don't want to wait 3 weeks, 2 months for answers.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the key. And a new startup farm. Look, I'll be honest with our listeners. You may not have insurance the first year. You need it, but you may not be able to afford it. That's just flat out, point blank. And the fact that you're willing to tell them that, Don, and tell them that, hey, it may not be an opportunity for you now, but look, let's plan for next year. What kind of revenue do you need to set aside, to make sure that you can afford it? That's a huge opportunity, and that's something we've got to teach.
Not only that, right, and not only that, just being realistic with them. Not saying go get a loan. Maybe there's some things where I can say, hey, let's cut this out for the first year. Maybe put. What I like to do is put a disaster plan together for folks. This is what we have to work with. Maybe this is, maybe let's skip out on this, for the first year, get our, feet beneath us. And then next year, let's dive into a full comprehensive plan because we got a little bit more of a cash flow.
Absolutely. So is there a minimum acreage coverage that you have to have, Don, or is there a maximum acreage that you can cover?
Not at all. We got people that have some plants in the shop that want to be covered. A lot most commonly, startup operations are between, a half acre to 5 acres for a startup. But I mean, we've insured all the way up to 400 acres.
Wow, that's awesome. So what are some of the products that you insure?
So we'll insure everything from start to finish. We'll cover your seedlings, your seeds, in a greenhouse. We'll cover your product liability.
Okay.
We'll cover your harvested hemp, your finished product, being that a distillate, full spectrum oil, any type of oil, crude oil. If you're doing, a manufactured vape pen, doesn't really much matter. We'll do anything from start to finish.
That is beautiful. So that's really interesting that you guys cover the finished product too, and the vape pens and things like that. So is that during transport? So if I'm shipping a kilo of crude out to somebody, are you covering that crude, or is it the finished product? What does that mean for our listeners?
See, the one thing that's tough right now, you kind of caught me there. I think the one part that the insurance companies are struggling to get on board with are the transport. Because what's scary is you could have, $3 million worth of oils in a car, and it gets T-boned somewhere, and it runs out on the street, and that's a quick $3 million down for the insurance company.
Right.
Secondly, not all companies or not all states are fully on board with the CBD. I know it's all federal and that kind of stuff, but we're still seeing state to state crack down on hemp and mistaking it for different types of things,
right,
and confiscating it. So that's another thing that insurance companies don't like is the state over state driving. So that's one thing that they frown on right now, is that no coverage for anything in transport.
That is so nuts, and I wasn't trying to catch you in one. I think it was just something that it's a question we get all the time too, because people ask us,
right.
because we do some white labeling from Veterans for Cannabis standpoint, so we'll send out some white label bottles. Is that insured? Well, only by the USPS, or whomever is shipping it out, and that's only up to $50, right, or whatever. So it's frustrating. Yeah. How can we improve that, Don? How can we fix the issues that we're facing?
That's a good question. That's a tough one. Like I said, I'd love to see. It's like I said, they got it all federally legal right now at this point, but it doesn't feel that way, does it?
No, not at all. And that's really what we do is we try to get a call to action in place. We try to inform our listeners to get them educated to actually be able to go to the state and federal governments and say, hey, look, we have to make these changes. And specifically now at the state level, because just like you said, there are states who are adamantly against this. And that's frustrating when federally we know this is legal.
I think too, if you got big pharma commercials all the time, showing the benefits of prescription pills and all that kind of stuff with the given side effects and all that kind of stuff. Even Facebook, doesn't let us advertise the hemp product or have those keywords in it. I think that's a real big issue because, if we're keeping, the community silent and people can't understand the benefits and think of it like marijuana, which has a bad connotation to numerous folks across America.
Right.
I think that's a big issue.
Yeah, it's a super frustrating issue too, especially when we're seeing the benefits that are black and white benefits too. This is not anecdotal evidence anymore. We are way past anecdotal evidence. So it's time for those who are elected officials to start listening to the people, the masses, We must be heard, right? It's frustrating.
I like that.
So, Don, who should carry insurance? When you actually think about this and you look at the people that are out there, who really should sign up with you?
So, my answer to that, and it's really coming out of our broker's mouth, and one of our brokers are the ones who worked with Juul, which were like, obviously the big vape pens that they've been cracking down on.
Right.
We've got one of the same brokers that have been heavily involved with Juul, and straight out of his mouth, he says that anybody who has a transaction with hemp or CBD should be carrying product liability insurance at the minimum. So the way he described it would be for instance, like McDonald's, throw it out there. If I eat a burger and I get mad cow disease somewhere, it's not always just McDonald's that gets sued. They go down to McDonald's, they go down to the guy who processed the beef, down to the farmer who raised the beef, down to the guy who sold the seed that the cattle ate. All that stuff gets sucked in. Lawyers want their money, everyone wants their money, and they suck as many possible people into these things lawsuits as what they can. There's no difference in the hemp and the CBD world. They're going to go after the trickle effect. They're going to go after the storefront first, Storefront's going to divert back to the processing company and to down to the person who grew it. So to answer your question, what they're telling us, the big dogs are telling me, anyone who has their hand in a transaction deal